Hey guys, there we go. How's everybody doing? Just waiting to join with Jordan. Just sent them an invite. We'll get going. Connor, what's up, man? Hope everyone's good out there. Just waiting for Jordan. We're going to start this in a minute. What's up, Kev? Give you a little wave. Excited for this. I think, let me send it again to Jordan here.
There we
There he
go.
is. What's up, man?
What's up, bud? How are you?
Good, man. How are you?
Good.
You look cozy.
Yeah, I'm sitting in my office here. You can hear me well. I got my AirPods in.
Yeah, I can hear you, man, too. How's things, man?
Cool.
Things good?
You're good.
Nice, man.
Really good.
So I'm excited for this. I know we've been trying to do this for the last couple of weeks. We've both been really busy. But I just want to get up live with you for your people, my people, and just talk about sports entertainment, talk about representing sports entertainment clients and how that goes. And, maybe for anyone out there, if they want to get involved with sports entertainment athletes or just kind of shoot it with you as we do when we talk all the time about, our style and everything else. And it's been great. I've really respected watching you as well. You're doing, how you're just killing it, man. I love what you're doing, with Next Move and how that's going on. So I guess, talk about Next Move, man. Talk about the journey and, what's your guys' why? What's your guys' mission? Like, what are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah. So thanks for having me on. So I
No
have
problem.
a real estate team that's agnostic. So it's essentially the goal is that if we have a client that's usually a high touch celebrity client, we can rely on a specific real estate professional that's going to be able to handle that situation. So it's a fire drill most times. Obviously, with live sports coming back in these bubbles, that's a little bit out of scope for us. But essentially, when you have a more traditional model of sports, the housing piece of it, as a lot of people don't know, is totally third party and independent. The
Hmm.
teams don't have processes for housing professional athletes specifically. So we essentially are available to be on hand from everything from a younger player that has a budget that may be on a smaller contract and potentially not necessarily even be on the team for the entire season, all the way up to the luxury level where we can focus on multi-million dollar acquisitions of primary properties, secondary homes, in-season housing, things like that. So I figured out about 6 years ago that this would be a niche business that wasn't necessarily about um, your ego or making money, anything like that. It was essentially providing a value add in an industry that is very transient and has a requirement for that type of focus. So um, it's all organic, it's all relationships, as you know, Matt.
Yeah.
And you're my Hamptons partner. So there's opportunities for in-season housing, and then there's opportunities, to get into like building investment portfolios as well. So that's a neat piece to it.
Yeah.
Vacation homes, things like that.
Yeah.
And it's essentially just being a trusted advisor as you
Amen.
would of any real estate client,
Yeah.
but just with a specific niche. So
Yeah. No, it's really cool, man. I love that. I mean, it's cool. Like I feel like out in the Hamptons, like I don't deal with a lot of like in-season housing like stuff like you're talking about, but it's like I'm kind of more on that investment side. I've always done. I mean, I've done a few of these rentals, but um, I guess what I've realized too, and it's been great watching you find your niche and do that. And it's like really, it's not easy to do in real estate because we always want to do everything. And I think, when people focus in on one thing, I think it's really powerful. And I love that you're doing that. Um, but out here doing this investment stuff, I just think realizing just a few years ago too, like the power, and we talked about this when we first met, like the power of the industry. I think there's so much wealth in this industry, and these guys, I think real estate's not only for living, but just for investing, and it's something that's tangible to them and athletes and everything else. And there's the whole business of sports too. Like I think even on executive levels and everything else, like there's so much money in it. And it's not for the money for us per se. It's fun working in this industry and working with them. But I think like realizing just, the demand for real estate, and I think on an investment scale, it's easier than a stock market investment that you don't know much but I think like you kind of touched upon it. And one thing I wanted to talk about with you is like that trusted advisor, for me, like, and we talk about this too, like I call it like the anti-broker, right? Like just not over salesy, more upfront and honest, really looking out for people, trying to do the best you can to take care of them, really client experience, client focused. I mean, I guess talk about your style a little bit, and how you kind of deal with these guys on a real level as a broker to them.
yeah, I mean it's all organic, and it brings relationships to people that you wouldn't necessarily have a touch point in. And I'm talking about not just the athlete, but also the inner circle of that particular client. So you create relationships with business managers, with financial services, with sports agents, with family members. There's all these different reaches, and from a real estate advisor standpoint, the beauty of our business is everybody needs a place to live.
Hmm.
So it becomes a point that, yes, your focus is potentially on a specific client, but having access to the sphere of influence and being a professional and expert and staying in your real estate lane then
Yeah.
creates a dynamic that's an opportunity for like a lead generation
Yeah.
pipeline. So I think of the real estate industry as a very low bar of
Yeah.
entry.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a differentiator in your business, and why not focus on just developing and expanding your sphere and relationships, and
Yeah.
always maintaining a professional backing of, hey, you need a place to live, got it, we can help you out there. So
Yeah.
so that's my motivator, is really just having a why of we can provide a comfort and a backbone of professionalism for having you and your family be comfortable in an unfamiliar territory and environment.
Yeah.
Um, if you take it a step farther, Matt, um, we're also known for making sure that there aren't mistakes being made in real estate investments.
Yeah.
These you get you have to advise certain players to not necessarily buy a multi-million dollar house.
Yeah.
I'll use a perfect example. I'm here in Washington D.C. by the way, so there's a transaction that just closed for 2 million of the sale. That sale was a player on the Washington Wizards who probably played about a dozen games last season. He was here for a very limited amount of time. He purchased that condo with a friend of a friend. Not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that you choose who you work with.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
And he paid 2.3 million for that condo a year ago. So in a Washington D.C. market, paying 2.3 million and then a year later selling it for 2 million, you can kind of see who got the short of the end of the stick there.
Yeah,
So unfortunately, despite and I had I had access to that particular player. My advice to the player was go ahead and rent. You have a 1 year contract, but his lifestyle dictated that he wanted to purchase, which he could afford to do. But we're looking at a $400,000
loss.
loss.
Yeah, it's terrible, man. You know,
So it's and who and who takes that hit? It's the
no,
player.
I know. It's hard. That's why I say I call it like the anti-broker. It's not really about the sale. It's not about the exposure. It's about the client and what they're doing. And I know it's helped me in the sports entertainment sphere was like I kind of grew up because my mom was a top luxury agent. Like I grew up working in the luxury sphere with her, and like understanding that the ultra luxury market they had different needs than like a standard client, and they had a different way of dealing with them that was different than a standard client. And they're just very bright people, and everything on the ultra high net worth sphere, I've noticed, especially with these like hedge fund guys, like it's a trade, it's not a house. It's
Right.
it's different. And they're always like 10 steps ahead of it, and you have to attack it differently. It's framing that market for them. So it's kind of helped me when I deal with athletes, especially on the investment side, which I daily do, and I do these little rentals like we were talking about, but when I'm trying to, it's about, a smart investment and telling them maybe no or yes, not just yesing them all the time, but it's also delivering that no in a certain way and how to deliver it, right? Because, they probably have a lot of people that tell them yes all the time around them. And I think, especially athletes, I mean, everyone's always trying to sell them something, right? They're high profile people.
Yep.
They get a lot of exposure. Like everyone's around them. Everyone wants to be around somebody that's like that, right? Like, so I think I think once you break into that sphere, it's then delivering, like as you talked about too, that proper representation where there's not mistakes,
Yep.
and I agree with you too. Like you said, like I always say, like the bar for real estate agents is like to get into the industry is low, right? But to do it like really is like really, really high. Like it's not easy. And then like I think the deal in this sphere, ultra high net worth sphere, the luxury market and the athletic sphere is even higher, you know.
Yep.
And it's not easy to get into that sphere, but I think once you have the opportunity, like you gotta deliver, and deliver the
It,
goods.
it's a space that you can't just join. Even at the C level, the C-suite level, if you have the right circle, if you serve on boards, if your kids go to school at the same school as in kind of the affluent market, you can get access in a conversation with a C-level employee. Athletes, it's not the same. You don't have the opportunity to give an elevator pitch about why you should be um, an advocate for their housing needs or real estate needs. It's
Yeah,
all about like certain touch points, warm introductions, spending time with the right people, and doing doing what you need to do to stay top of mind when you have the opportunity presented. Um, it gets frustrating, as you know, and
yeah,
it really is a niche space that if you have the opportunity to work in it, there's going to be a lot of roadblocks. There's going to be a lot of conversations with people that say that they have specific access, and it's going to waste your time and your money.
yeah, yeah,
We've both been there, so
yeah,
it's really not for the faint of heart.
yeah,
I agree with you that we operate in an elite space of real estate and getting to that pinnacle. You may not want to even deal with it. You may just say, you know what, I'm fine with trading at 2 to 4 to 5 to $6 million homes with clients that I'm in control of and have control of the deal. So I'd rather just take the commission and do a great job and have that client for life than waste my time with this runaround,
yeah,
for what? So I can't give a really good reason, Matt, other than like I enjoy operating in a space that's very difficult to operate in, and I
Hmm.
enjoy like creating experiences for my kids. I have three
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah.
so as like a growing up a sports fan,
Yeah.
it's always a neat thing to just say, hey, we're gonna have a little bit more access than normal than your friends. Um, it's kind of like something that you can't pay for. It's just you
That
have
is
the
cool.
opportunity.
That is
So
really cool. That is really
yeah,
cool. I love that. I love that. Yeah, I mean, I guess, and then speaking out there, anyone that's on this thing with us, like, if you have a question, just fire it up there. We'll try to answer it, or anything for Jordan. No, I love that. Like, I think creating those experiences for your kids, or just, yeah. I mean, I think part of the journey in the sports entertainment real estate world for agents is it's an experience too. It's like it's fun. It's like, running over the, like, I even the experiences I had, it's really, as this business can get mundane. And I think good sales agents is about repetition, and it's actually not rocket science real estate, really. And I tell my team this, like, it's get up, make your calls, get after it, and it becomes like Groundhog Day a little bit. So to, the deal in this space, at least for me, that's, because I deal in a lot of different spaces, but mostly focused on a luxury market, which then falls into this. But it's more exciting. It's just fun experiences. When you're dealing with these guys, or someone you maybe watch as a kid play, or whatever. Just
yeah.
guys that you've seen win championships, or you've idolized, and whatever. In a way, it's cool, and it's hard to, because I think I realize dealing with these guys, and the people, there's certain hit points, I think, as an agent that you got to watch out for if you're dealing with these guys, not to do. There's like a not to do list, right? But I think, like, if you seem like a raving fan, I don't think they're going to want to deal with you
No,
at all.
definitely
But,
not. Absolutely
and you
not.
got to kind of suppress that, and you kind of have this cool demeanor, about it. But,
Yep.
it's a different, different thing. So I guess, like, for someone wanting to break into the industry, I mean, you got any kind of tips for anyone that would want to, like, how do you, to jump in?
So the reason why Next Move exists is because I can fast track some of my relationships directly to realtors that I respect that operate in areas that I need support in. So I'm not the end all be all of sports entertainment real estate. I mean, there's plenty of agents out there that will give some mentorship in the space. Um, I really think that just starting within our industry is the best. It's the best case scenario. The beauty of real estate is, again, we don't have competition to like sign athletes. So it's essentially, um, if somebody needs a place to live and they fit the niche and they have a relationship that gets to me, then I can take care of it. It's not like we're in a competitive space that I'm signing specific
What,
players,
what,
that no one else can work with. Like there's no exclusivity with it. It's essentially we can do whatever we want to do and then develop those relationships within that specific, one-on-one,
cool, man.
without having to fight other people, per
Yeah.
se.
Yeah.
So
What markets do you refer, you'd say, most to, or like where are you most active, like outside of DC? Like, where are you
sure.
seeing a lot of activity in the sports entertainment world
So
for you?
honestly, Las Vegas has been very popular recently.
Hmm.
It's a great investment space. The income tax is, I think, non-existent. So don't quote me on that. There's tax benefits to purchasing in in Vegas as a primary residence, similar to another couple areas. Um, so we've had some luck in Vegas. We've had some a lot of interest in kind of the South Florida market,
Yeah.
Arizona, those training areas. So it's a good place, especially in the baseball and football space, that a lot of players who aren't from there will buy in Florida, similar tax.
Do you
Um,
do you see most guys, like, say they're playing for whatever, a New York team or a Philadelphia team or wherever, Chicago. So it seems like they're probably going elsewhere, like outside season. You would say, like,
yep,
they're training, or they're spending other, and then they're going there, and in season they're in that city, but they're kind of having another primary residence potentially, like,
sure.
elsewhere.
Yeah, we do. It's basically rent where you play, buy where you live. I mean, that's a really good way to look
It's a
at
good
it
way. It's
because
great. I'm gonna
it's
steal
it
that one. I think that's a good
yeah
one.
it takes
That's a good one.
it takes away the pressure that if you get traded that you can just leave the lease, similar to the example I gave with the Wizards player. Like, unless you're on a guaranteed contract for multiple years, there's really no reason to purchase in the area that you play. And where do you want to spend your time? Where, if you have a family, where your kids going to school? Where is, if you have a partner, where is your partner comfortable? Because
Hmm.
they're going to be home by themselves a lot. So,
Yeah.
where is that like comfort zone? And that really opens it up to everywhere and across the U.S. into Canada, you name it. Canada has a little bit difficulty. If you're not a Canadian citizen, there's a 15% tax. So players that play in Toronto need to essentially become Canadian citizens, or it doesn't make any sense for them
Wow, I didn't know that.
to
It's interesting.
purchase. So yeah, so there's a couple Toronto FC players, bigger names that have actually applied for dual citizenship just so they can buy real
Yeah,
estate
there's
in
definitely some
there.
limitations in Canadian market. I had a client, they bought like an $8, $9 million house for me like 2 or 3 years ago, but wealthy family. But I remember they were trying to sell their house in Canada and then buy something here, and there was a lot of like some bunch of tax stuff going on, and it seemed like pretty highly regulated real estate market there for what they're
Yep,
trying to do,
yep.
which is interesting. Well, yeah, it's cool. And again, it goes back to that being an advisor, helping people out. Trying to school yourself in Canadian real estate law is probably not the first
No,
thing you want to be doing. But
no, definitely not. So
yeah,
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 so I would say that just in general, always formulate relationships in the industry. It doesn't just equate to athlete referrals. It equates to any referrals. I think Matt, you and I are working on a multi-million-dollar referral
yeah,
that is hopefully going to come together. That's not
yeah,
a professional athlete. It's just somebody
yeah,
that happens to live in the Hamptons.
yeah,
So um, it's fun. I mean, these personal developments are important. I would spend some time on it. If you're a real estate agent that is focused on your local business, that's great. But I think you should spend some time on getting a great reputation in other markets too. I think both of our brokerages have excellent reputations. You're with Compass. I'm
yeah,
with
yeah,
Keller Williams. We
yeah,
have big reach. I think Compass is specific in more the luxury space.
yeah, yeah,
I think KW is specific in just volume. I can
yeah.
go to pretty much any market in the United States and find an agent, but like I said, it's not about the brokerage. I really don't care. It's about the personality of
Yeah, for
the
sure.
realtor because we're all doing the same job. It's just where we hang our license. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
So,
I always say that too. It's not about the jersey. It's really just about the character of the person. Because I still deal as much as I love my Compass network. I deal with agents from all sorts of different brokerages. And even from past ones that I'm not a part of that still send me business, and I send them stuff as well. So I think it's about that type right relationship and trying to place that referral. And I think it's funny. It goes deeper than sports too. I think I know even in the luxury space, like it's like kind of and I think you're right for any agent striving to be that advisor where you have such a good relationship with that client that they're like, yo, I want to sell my place in Miami. Who you got down there,
yep,
And I think that's real brokering. And I think people need to understand that brokering is not just about you know, like being like, in an office with a three-piece suit on, like banging out a $10 million deal. No, I think
no,
it's delivering that amazing, building that rapport with the people and building that relationship with people. And it's not just, it's like if you go to go buy a sweater in J. Crew and someone comes up and tries to sell a sweater right away, like I don't get out of here. But if you know that person, there's a different relationship, right? Like it's like then it's not sales first, it's people first, And I think that's it,
absolutely.
especially in the sport in the luxury space, especially in sports entertainment world. And I
And
think that's what
it,
brokers need to understand for sure.
and it's general like just happiness. I think I could. I mean, everybody wants to make money, but I could do this. I think the differentiator for me and why I think I have more longevity in the space is that I have processes for everything that's thrown at me, and the last thing I'm thinking about is the compensation for it. So,
Yeah.
um, as you know, with elite real estate, we're all going to make money. Like
Hmm.
you can't you can't operate at an elite level and not make a life, for being able to support however you live your life. So, just general happiness, like the fact that I can wake up every day and meet a new person, and I have a pretty extroverted personality and become like very at a personal level is just awesome. I mean, that's what gets me excited. I used to work in corporate America in a cubicle, um, and would just kind of daydream in that space. Like I don't want to be here in 10 years,
Hmm.
So it's, it makes sense to be out there, to be in a space that you can add value and literally have people say, hey, you did a great job. Like, thank you for
Hmm.
spending the time to do this. My wife is extremely happy right now, and we're going to recommend you to everybody we know. I mean, I don't even look at any type of compensation schedule or care about it at all, honestly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Totally.
and yeah, and we
That's
don't have
amazing.
to, and Matt, we don't have to rely on that either because our businesses were transacting real estate to everybody else. So this is like not a piece of it that we have to guarantee ourselves like a specific amount of dollars or else we can't do it anymore. Like it's almost like this is a just a byproduct of a vertical of our business because we've been able to get to this point.
Yeah,
So,
and build that network. I mean, I tell you guys on my team, like, just build your base, build your network, build your network, build your network. Just build that, even if you got three people, it starts, and it's like that energy. You start and you just grow and you grow and you grow it and you grow it, and they go, no more people, you got more people, and that's the power of the business. And like you, like I realized at 22 years old, like I'm not set out for a cubicle life. I'm not gonna go work. I couldn't handle that standard. I just didn't have them. I was not built for it. And I realized that with my connections in the industry with my family, like this is kind of what I wanted to kind of get after. And I always love, I think one of the most powerful things about real estate, the real estate agents need to understand too, is that the branding, marketing, entrepreneurial side of it. And it's such a powerful thing. And I
yep,
think understanding what you've done great with your company, within the Keller Williams platform. And I call brokerages platforms now because that's what I think they are, right? And Keller Williams is a great platform. Compass is a great platform. And it's like whatever platform you want to plug into, but that to be able to not only build your network, but the entrepreneurial mind like of that. And I don't think a lot of people don't fit into that hole, of that
yeah.
standard. I can just 9 to 5 sit in a cubicle and whatever, and that's the power of real estate though too, man. I think is the excitement of it, and every day is so different, and you can kind of get lost in the unstructuredness of it sometimes, which is a battle within itself. But just continually building your brand and your market and following your niche, like you, like building this company that's just focused on this niche is really, really great, man.
Stay focused, be authentic, be consistent, all the buzzwords. I actually um, just prescribe to the feelings of what makes sense to me. I don't really read any books. I don't listen to podcasts. People ask me like what books like influence you. I don't really spend time reading. Like I spend
Yeah.
time on the phone. I spend time following up with people I haven't talked to in a while that have
Yeah.
done right by me and that I feel like I need to have a touch point with. So um,
You're right on with that.
it's
I mean, that's what it's all about, dude. I mean, it's like as I said, real estate's it's simple, to a degree. Like
it's really
it's
simple.
get
Yeah.
up on the phone and repeat that every day, and just get up there and get up with your people, or call your
Yep.
people, follow back. Like not only follow up, I tell my team too, like follow back up. Like again,
Yeah.
like sometimes like I get messages sometimes you don't see them, whatever, then you follow back up with them a week later. Yo, did you see that? Whatever.
And
You know.
we're facilitators. Like that's our job is facilitators. It's other people's money. Other people spending money is how we're running our career. So we don't interfere with that. We
Yeah.
give guidance, we facilitate, you make sure mistakes aren't made, you
Yeah.
tighten things up, and you don't take anything for granted. So that's yeah, I mean the business translates to whatever niche you want to be. We happen to be in talking about kind of the athlete space, but it's really just kind of the same process, no
Yeah.
matter what your focus is.
Yeah, I
So
think some of the hit point from today would be just kind of like that client experience. I think of people having that experience that they want to refer you, and like you said, mistakes not being made, and really just focus whoever you're dealing with, making sure that client has an incredible experience working with you. And I think it's for me, I'm always trying to elevate that experience and always trying to elevate that with a client. And I think like for a long time, the real estate agents, like it was almost like, all right, do you want to refer this $10 million asset to like a friend of a friend that's like, that
right,
goes to brunch with the wife,
yeah,
your wife or whatever, right? Like that doesn't like, like it's not like that's how it shouldn't be. They should be like, no, it's like a financial advisor. Like if you had $10 million, you wanted to work in the stock market. And I think there's certain companies, certain agents in the industry that are really trying to elevate the industry too, and trying to take it to a notch where it's becoming something where
right,
a real estate agent is on that level of a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. And I really appreciate people that try to take it there. And it's not just like, because the perception of the real estate agent for a long time has not been a good one, you know. And I think
no,
it's like we're trying to battle through the mistakes of past stuff
yep,
and deliver this new um, kind of brokering. And I think that what's great for guys like us is because I think the generation that now is like becoming 89% of the buyer respects this and wants this and craves this and demands this type of brokering, and they appreciate it so much that they are going to refer you to a million people.
yep,
And it's different, and I call it like this kind of next generation broker that's kind of coming through, and with
yeah.
this next generation buyer.
And that there's nowhere to hide, Matt. If somebody does refer something to a friend of a friend, or somebody that doesn't have the experience it's required to sell a $10 million listing, there's no hiding behind that.
Yeah.
So they better do a good job. Otherwise, you can't get frustrated when people don't. I have some people that specifically won't work with me for personal reasons. I don't know why, but I don't care. If you don't want
Hmm.
to work with me, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll work with the people that want to work with me, that I have trusted relationships with, and I'm really not going to pay attention to anybody that um,
That's
is
a
going
good
to go in
point.
a different direction. It's just there's nothing you can do about it, and there's nothing
It's a
and the
good
truth
point.
of the matter about
Steve
it.
Scholl, who I love, who works with me on my team, he used to play for the Dolphins, and Steve says, and he has a great seminar on this or whatever, but he says you're the favorite of the fool, right? Sometimes, and I think it's understand that in real estate, who favorites you, who loves you, who appreciates your relationship, and then when you're a fool in a relationship where you're just like running against a wall, we've all been there, and this guy does not appreciate it. They don't care. They just keep pounding you, pounding you. It's adding so much stress, and it's probably bringing you off into a hole where you're losing three other great or not servicing the guy that loves
Right.
you,
Correct.
and that's the battle as an agent, is understanding that bipolarness to it, of like, and focusing on that core group that really does appreciate you and trying to find who that group is that's really going to open up a lot of doors for you and open up that network,
Yep.
then spending time on these people that just suck the life out of you. And drag you down there, man. So I think that's a really good point too. Like, and I think that's the thing as an agent too. It's like trying to pound through this. Like you need grit, man, to get in this business. You really do, and it's a high contact sport,
Yep.
of getting through these like rejections all the time.
Yep.
And like it's all right. If you say no, it's like all right, I'm gonna keep moving.
It's
And the
okay.
best
And
brokers I've ever seen is just like they're just like dust it off and they just keep going and they just like it's all right. I'm gonna go get two other things or I'm gonna go service my other relationship better, and that's what it's all about.
yep. Yep. And
So
there's, I always tell people too that are looking for advice on specifically branding, marketing, there's free services like LinkedIn. Like LinkedIn, you don't have to post every time you put a house under contract. Like nobody cares. But
you're right. You're
if
right.
you show who you are on something like LinkedIn and you develop your professional platform, you stay humble and you advertise a couple cool things that you've done. I mean, that's a great platform to just get started and meet people. Um, and then the people that won't work with you or haven't worked with you or don't know who you are, like they'll pay attention to that. They'll scroll through the timeline of something like LinkedIn or Instagram, and take a little bit of notice, like, oh, this person actually works with this other person that I respect a lot, and I didn't
Yeah,
realize that they were connected. So,
you're right on with that.
yeah, you don't need to tell people, like, I don't really tell people what I do. I have enough clues within my social media world, that they can figure it out. Like, people are pretty smart,
And I love
and
what
they
you do
have,
too, Jordan. You like I think it's like Gary Vee talks about too. Like you give before you receive. Like you give. Like I love like your webinars you do. You do those. I get those invites for your calls and stuff. And you bring on athletes. You bring on people you work with. And you're like creating like a network that's like you're educating, you're talking, you're giving value, you're talking about value. Like I think like again talking about this new next generation of brokering. Like one, I think it's all digital, and I
yep,
see it more in the Hamptons. So these magazines are just soaking wet, but everyone just wants to see their face, But I think that it's a adding value on digital platforms and just talking it out here. Like we're both taking an hour out of our day just to like kind of like give back to whoever wants to listen and talk and just have a conversation about sports and entertainment and
right,
representing athletes, right? Like when we could be
right,
calling people, but it's like instead of, and I think the era, and I think people especially like in our industries appreciate it in regards to our clients, like they appreciate, like I think it's moving from like an MTV Cribs kind of video, like these videos you see with the Ferraris driving up and the
right.
people
Of
getting
course,
out,
it's ridiculous. Yeah,
and it's like a music video, and you're
yeah,
like, I just think people are not as into that as anymore, and the brokers just keep pumping it out. But I'm like, they want to know value, they want to know who you are, they want to know like if you know what you're talking about, they want to know knowledge, and for me, I'm excited that people demand that, and they're not as shallow as just to like see that and just like think that that's that cool anymore.
right,
And I think you've
yeah,
built your business around that, and a lot of stuff you do, it's about like, no, I am an advisor, I am a source of knowledge, like, and I'm going to look out for your interest, and it's like coming across with that brand. So I think as agents, the more you're focused on that, because I've been doing this a long time. I remember even in my 20s where I was like, you know, I had more. I was like, it's just fired up for like my ego was kind of a little bit got out
right,
of control at times, and I've had to curb that into this point where I've matured as a broker to realize like, man, it's not always about telling everybody how much you sold or how much you've done. It doesn't matter, for these clients. Yeah, they want to know you have some experience. Well, then I don't know, like if you got their back,
yeah,
you know,
right.
like
Yeah, are you going to bat for me or what's going on?
yeah, like
Yeah,
are you, and as soon as you lose that trust, lights out, you
yeah.
know, lights out, man.
If
So.
I show, yeah, I mean, I'm with you. The posing in front of luxury cars, especially if it's not your car. Like if you drive a Ferrari, congratulations, that's cool, I guess. But
Yeah,
I guess it's fun to take a photo once in a while. But if it's not your Ferrari, like what are you doing? What's going on here?
yeah,
So
and I think there's been
that's
mistakes in that sphere. Like people
that's
have gotten broke. Like if Mike Tyson can go broke, like everybody can go broke, right? Like it's
yeah,
like they don't need like buying tigers and all this crap. Like right, like you don't
no,
need to go. And I think athletes, I think people have seen those mistakes, and that's what it's actually cool. Like I feel like, and to kind of circle back to the beginning of our conversation, talking about like investment and how clients like really like, I think athletes especially like really into real estate investment, and it's tangible, and
yeah,
like we work, and David, like we work with David Gross and Confluent and their team out here, and he's all over the country, but he's like created this fund with athletes. We have three of his Hamptons projects, and it's like we make him good money. Like we rented all his houses for like close to $1 million, and they're
correct,
making good
yep,
money, in their fund and their profit, and we haven't even sold them yet, and we can still sell them. We're getting a lot of activity on them, which they're probably like we'll make another clip of money, right? So I think for people, and I always say real estate's the best business in the world anyway for anybody because it's tangible, and you can understand it. And if you can get into it and you study enough, you can kind of get it, and
yeah,
what can make money and what investments can make money. And if you surround yourself with the right people, the right brokers, whatever, if you're on the buy side, if you're a broker, I think brokers make the best real estate investors because they're just in it every day.
yep,
I've watched that with my mom and my
yeah,
dad. Like they just, especially my mom, like just in it all day, and watch her make incredible. Tell my dad and them they bought an incredible piece of property and made a lot of money. Um, so I believe that wholeheartedly, and I think athletes are really starting to understand that too, especially with some of the money they're making. Instead of like, all right, I'm not buying six, and to go back to the Lamborghini Ferrari, they're
yeah,
like, I'm not buying
right,
four Ferraris. I'm going to put it into this fund and get 25% on my 15%, 10%, whatever it is, but still making money, making my money make money.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and look, there's always luxury real estate. There's there's nothing wrong if you want to buy a 10, $12 million house if you can afford it.
Of
That's
course,
that's not
of
that's not
course.
my call. But it's it's really if you're diversifying, if you have a 10, $12 million house, I'm with you. Like you should also be diversified in those types of real estate investment funds that's making you a supplementary income. And that goes for anybody. So the richest highest net worth people in America are all real estate people. Like
Yeah, makes
it's
sense.
not again, it's not
Yeah,
rocket science.
it's
So
not rocket science. Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, man. So but
Well, this has
look,
been great, man.
this is cool.
Yeah.
We can do this again. I think probably 45 minutes here. We'll have some closing words. I appreciate everybody that's jumped on here to get a little snapshot of a mid-afternoon conversation. But yeah, you and I, let's just keep building together. Let's just keep the conversations going. I think that the real estate community is one of the pieces of our economy right now that's kind of keeping everything level-headed with all the craziness going on. So I want you, obviously, you and your family to stay safe. We're spending a lot of time in our homes here.
I know, I know.
So another,
You're, you're
angle to
you're
market like
probably
our
waiting. You're
business.
probably like me, just waiting for a 4-year-old to come blast into the store, and I don't know when that could
Oh, yeah,
happen. So it's your.
I've had three of them at the door. You've seen me like waving them away.
Oh man,
So
yeah.
yeah,
It's yeah. Same with you, Jordan, man. I wish you the best, and it's cool, man. It's fun building with you, and when I always talk about you to other people in the industry, I always say he's one of us, and I think that's how I think there's certain people in this industry that I really respect that I think are growing this, like we talked about, this kind of next generation, trying to lead it, and not lead it from a flashy standpoint or saying we're better than anybody, but just trying to lead
yeah,
it with value, adding knowledge, and just sharing that live and just doing the best we can and to represent everybody the best we can and from a client focus
for sure,
perspective.
man.
So,
Cool.
all right, man, this has been great, dude. Let's do this again. All right, man.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks,
All right,
Matt.
buddy. All right, bye.
See you, man. See ya.